Assalamu alaikum. I am Sian Ashsad, and today we're going to discuss about trust and fairness in AI systems. Let's first start with the contents we're going to cover in this discussion. The first one being concept of trust and fairness, then following with user acceptance and trust. The next is functional elements of trust. Then we're going to cover a big topic, which is ethical principles for trustworthy AI, and finishing with conclusion. The first in order is to understand the concept of trust and fairness. Trust is a firm belief in the truth of someone or something. Trust involves a willingness to be vulnerable based on the expectation that the other party will act in a reliable and dependable manner. Trusters are under some form of vulnerability to harm towards trustees. For example, users trust companies to safeguard their data. However, some companies may try to steal and misuse the provided data. Fairness in the context of AI refers to the concept of developing and deploying artificial intelligence systems in a manner that avoids bias, discrimination, and unjust treatments of individuals or groups. It aims to ensure that the benefits and outcomes of AI applications are distributed equally and that the systems do not reinforce or amplify existing social bias and unfairness. The next is user acceptance, and it refers to the willingness and satisfaction of users in accepting and adopting a particular product, service, or technology. Trust is paramount for user acceptance because it forms the foundation of a positive user experience and influences users' willingness to adopt and engage with the service. An example of this will be the Patriot Act, which was empowered by the US government to access data stored on cloud computers of different US companies. Now, customers from Europe might feel uncomfortable about granting the US government such a privilege. To counter this, US companies put servers in Europe which are not affected by the act and thus can ensure user privacy. In this way, gaining users' trust is very important for acceptance of a service. Now we're going to move to the next topic, which is functional elements of trust. Here we're going to see that the users calibrate their trust in a machine based on the following factors. The first is dependability, which refers to a machine or system to consistently operate as expected and fulfill its intended function. Dependability is very important for a user to trust a system. The next is false alarm rate. This measures how often a machine produces incorrect or false alarms on notification. For example, in a security system, a high false alarm rate would mean that the system frequently raises alerts for non-existent threats, leading to unnecessary disruptions and decreased trust in systems accuracy. The next one is transparency, which in the context of machine refers to the ability to understand and explain the decision-making process and inner workings of the machine. Transfer systems enable users to trust and verify the machine's actions, ensuring accountability and facilitating easier troubleshooting or error detection. Following is task complexity, which is the level of difficulty or intricacy involved in performing a specific task. Now, there are two very important factors through which a user evaluates their trust in a machine. The first one being performance. Performance relates to how well a machine accomplishes its intended task. The better and efficient performance, the more a user is likely to use the system. Finally, reliability, which refers to a machine to consistently perform its function without failures or errors over a certain period of time. Reliable machines are predictable and trustworthy, providing consistent results under varying conditions. Now, there is a set of ethical principles of AI for trust and fairness, which was brought forward by AI for People Group in 2018 in Brussels, Belgium. A total of five principles can be found here, which are non-malfeasance, beneficence, autonomy, justice, and explicability. Now we're going to cover all of this starting with non-malfeasance. It states that AI shall not harm people. AI systems that harm people are a risk both for individuals as well as for companies. In terms of trust and fairness, this correlates to two main topics. The first one is social media bullying and harassment. Bullying in classes and workplaces has always been a concern. Now, through digital devices, it has reached new heights. AI is no exception to it. AI must be built to prevent itself and users from using the system from bullying and similar malintentions. The second topic is hate speech. It is a type of speech that is not just specifically directed against a particular person, but can also be directed against groups or entire parts of the population. It might, for example, attack groups on the basis of their ethnic origin, sexual orientation, religion, gender identity, disability, and others. Now, in 1976, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights was established, which includes a statement according to which any advocacy of national, racial, or religious hatred that constitutes incitement to discrimination, hostility, or violence shall be prohibited by law. This goes directly against hate speech, And law against hate speech has since been passed in a number of countries, such as Belgium in 1981 and Germany in 2017. These laws also prevent companies from allowing hate speech in their platform. The balance between hate speech and freedom of speech is being decided within and across nations. Social media has infused these debates with elements of cultural and national perspectives. Large companies such as Facebook and Google are being forced to edit their content. Some may view this as a necessary means for combating racism, others may view this as an attack on freedom of speech. Now, Microsoft Tay is actually an AI that was released in Twitter back in 2016. At first, Tay was very human friendly and non racist and was non biased and can interact with humans through Twitter. So, just after a couple of few days, it seemed that the Microsoft Tay actually turned racist and non human friendly and started doing hate speech. So this is a prime example of hate speech for non-maleficence, which goes against this principle. Moving on, we have beneficence. This states that AI shall do people good. This is a general principle from bioethics, according to which the benefits from a treatment must outweigh the potential harms. Example of ways AI system may demonstrate beneficence with respect to social problems are given below. So the reduction of facilities and accidents by autonomous vehicles, providing robotic supports and care for the aging society, the use of telemedicine in remote areas, smart grid-based sustainability improvements, improvements in terms of biodiversity, such as AI applications to preserve endangered species, the use of robots and AI in education. Now, the next principle is autonomy, and this principle states that AI should respect people's goals and wishes. Autonomy traditionally refers to an AI system's ability to operate without human intervention, but in the ethical context, it focuses on respecting individual autonomy. Autonomy in bioethics refers to a patient's rights to make decisions about their own treatment, including the right to refuse life-saving procedures or medication if required. Respecting autonomy means allowing individuals to assume risks, make choices, and pursue their own preferences, even if it involves self-harm or potential harm. Now, there are some limits to autonomy. NAI's respect to human autonomy would support permitting a degree of human self harm and permitting humans to assume risks that might lead to harm. A scenario would be humans might like to go rock climbing or ride motorcycles. The next principle is justice, which says that AI shall act in a just and unbiased manner. This is connected to the fairness of AI. There are two main topics to discuss. The first is determining creditworthiness, and the second is use in court. Banks and other credit institutions are already in a number of countries using AI system to pre-sort credit applications on the basis of data available about the applicant. Systematic bias can happen against a certain group of people based on existing data of neighboring regions. A system may assume that the individuals will have the highest uh, that have the highest healthcare costs will be the same individuals that need the most healthcare. A very reasonable assumption, but this assumption introduces disparities as poor people just because they cannot afford healthcare doesn't mean they don't need it. It's quite the opposite. Now, AI system is being used in courts to determine the order of cases and support judges in making decisions on probation and release. In terms of probation, we have the Compass system in Broward County, Florida, which supports the judges to determine whether an inmate gets released on probation or not. Compass system assesses recidivism risk. It means it determines the chance of an inmate to commit crime after being released. Compass system exhibited a systematic bias against African American defendants, which created a considerable amount of controversy. There is a trade-off between fairness and accuracy. Some argue that efforts to blind algorithm to objectionable categorical information such as race may be harmful, and a better approach would be to alter how we use machine learning and AI. That is to say that we rely on what actually happened rather than systemic processing, such as looking at race or genders. Now, the last principle is explicability, which refers to the question why an AI system arrived at a certain conclusion or result. This, however, cannot be equated with transparency. If a huge code is made transparent, it will not be intelligible and cause competition among the distributors. Now, explicability means both intelligibility and accountability. We want to actually make sense of the precise way in which an AI made a particular decision. This is intelligibility, AI workings being understood by humans. This way, the system doesn't become a black box. In terms of accountability, the European Union has implemented the right to information or right to explanation requirement by allowing individuals affected by algorithmic decisions to request an explanation of the algorithm's decision making process. Judicial system also require explanation. An example being the compass system mentioned earlier. Basic implementation of accountability is creating log files such as black box used in commercial airplanes. Now, finally, the conclusion of our discussion today is that the concept of trust and fairness must be implemented in AI properly. Trust is a must for user acceptance. An AI system needs to be functional for users to consider using it, and all ethical guidelines must be maintained when constructing an AI model. Thank you very much. That will be all for today's discussion. Allah Hafiz.